So people will go, well, just read the originals. Why would someone need a book that explains these things? And it's like, I don't know why.
I know why, because context matters.
Yes.
That's very nice, Johnny74, who left the Ryan Holiday comment. Let me give you the answer. If you read the original, half the words don't exist anymore. How about that part? How about the English language and slang have evolved? How, like,
not everyone went to the same Ivy League school as you. Not everyone was steeped in the same things as you.
Ryan, my entire creator career was predicated on that. I was one of the first individuals in the history of wine ever that decided to take wine off of its pedestal.
Yeah.
I loved wine so much that I wanted my friends to like it.
Sure.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
Because it was stoogey and douchey and fucking elitist. And when I referred to a wine, like, imagine if the Iron Sheik took off his weird boot and you smelled it, well, that was gonna resonate for people that grew up in the 80s and liked wrestling in a way of like deep cassis with terroir from that's not gonna work for everyone, to your point.
Yes.
Why is it needed? Because interpretations or DJing, or whatever you wanna call it, is actually how all of, if that was the case, we should all stop because it's always been talked about.
Yes.
That's insanity.
No, there's different people are at different places in their journey and want different things. And there's this kind of narcissism of like, well, the way I get it straight from the start. Like what I realize is, hey, I wake up every day and I'm fascinated by ancient philosophy. And I understand how it can apply to my life. And then I look around and I would try to talk to other people about it and be like, what does this have to do with me, right? Like, you realize people don't share the same assumptions as you.
That's right.
And that's where middlemen or popularizers or translators or influencers or explainers come in. And it's an important role.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like movies all that much. And I used to watch Siskel and Ebert when I would find them on the dial, predominantly because I loved their banter and interpretation of, I literally had no interest, like literally had no interest in seeing any of the movies. But I've always been drawn to the explainer. It's, you know, it's funny, it's my language. I mean, I live with unlimited acronyms and analogies because I've always like felt like it was a way to convey.
Yeah.
And I find my career in that. With wine, it was explaining a complicated thing that intimidates people.
Yeah.
And then I went into the business world and have stayed in the forefront of new things that are happening in business and try to break them down in a manner that provides people value or give them an aha, because I genuinely think that those things could be beneficial to them. However, I literally don't expect anyone to give a shit about modern marketing.
Yeah.
I don't expect anyone to care about the nuances of wine. I understand why no one cares about sports or garage sales or trading cards or blockchain or the thought that what I think is good means that it's good. That is a framework that I am fascinated that people don't understand. That is crazy talk. My favorite question that I would get 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when I was on book 4 or 5, and I was the new technology guy or the new medium guy or the pushing the envelope guy or the innovation guy. You'd always get like the third person in line, be like, all right, Gary, good stuff. Like, you know, that person that's looking for the Raz. All right, tell me this, Mr. The world is changing. So why do you write this book? Like, why are you even writing books? And I would be like, because people read them.
Yeah.
Like, just because attention might be moving somewhere doesn't mean the old medium is gone. The question becomes, are you capable of producing within that environment? And number 2, what's the juice worth what squeeze? So for example, if you love writing books, just because it might not be commercially successful, or you might make enough money given your time, that doesn't mean that the juice is not worth the squeeze. You might be doing, like when I write this book, I don't necessarily write it to, this is gonna be the best use of my time for money. This will never compete with me giving a 1-hour speech for the ludicrous amount of money that I get for it. However, I get incredible enjoyment as a human being of getting, and I'm sure, I mean, you must get this at scale. I get an enormous amount of emails every single day of my life, every day of my life, that says, hey, I read Jab, 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 Right Hook. This is a book that I wrote 10 years ago that is basically day trading attention. This was originally called Jab, 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 Left Hook.
Yeah.
That, and I just told you in your store, I write books for 2-3 year windows more than like forever. And I'm like, wow. And they're like, I got this marketing gig because like, I know that a lot of people learn in book form in a much more profound way than they do in short form social media content. And so I want to put a manifesto down. This one was really, I don't know if you skimmed or read or what, So like this one was a little nerdy for me. I went fucking detailed.
There's like diagrams.
Yeah, there's like charts and shit. Like I kind of went like this could be curriculum, college course stuff. Even when I read it for the audiobook, I was like, in parts of it, I'm like, I'm a little bored by this because I read it, but I know who I wrote it for.
Yes.
And so for this book, it's actually, a lot of people listening to this podcast, knowing how epic your audience is, they may not love me in Instagram, but this book, if they're like, what's cool about if you're trading for attention is it doesn't have to be commercial. This is not a capitalist book. This is a life book. You might be trying to raise $10,000 for your PTA. You might be running for mayor in your small town. You might have a family business that your mother just retired and you're like, wait a minute, what do I do with, like, having attention and saying something to make something happen is for everyone. And that's how I wrote it.
Well, what I took from you, and I think it was what you're saying, is you kind of become platform agnostic.
Correct.
You're very intent on the message. What is it that I'm having to say? And then just as like, I publish a book and then it gets translated in 30, 40 languages. I don't think in Spanish. I don't care that much about, Mandarin. I don't think about that, but that's the process by which this one singular thing gets broken down so it can reach all these other people. And I think that's how I think about social media and audiobooks and podcasts. It's like I have this thing that I'm trying to say and I'm trying to communicate, and then I want it to break out and go to all the different people.
Not only do I think over the last 15 years, when I analyze it, detached from my own self, that what has worked for me is being platform agnostic. But I've also been contextual to the platform medium agnostic, meaning I didn't want to make short form videos. As a matter of fact, when YouTube came out, I was one of the first humans on earth to do long form video. One of the reasons I got flown out to Google and Yahoo Video, and before Google even bought YouTube, and Vidler and all these companies, Ustream, which was the precursor to Twitch, was I was doing long form when everything was pirated IP. Early YouTube was Family Guy clips and.
You were on Rever, am I remembering that? What was that one?
Vidler?
There was like one that was going to be like YouTube, but you got paid for your videos.
Oh no, I never did that. I'm trying to remember what that was. But yeah, the point that I'm making is like written word. One of the reasons I didn't blog. If you look at my career on the internet from '96 to today, which is now a chunky little time, we're getting there. E-commerce early, email early, search early, YouTube, social, all of it. Not blogging, because I couldn't write. I started to blog after I was being transcribed from audio, from video. Got it? So like, look, I think this is where I'm going with this, which is like, you have to be self-aware of what you're capable of. But more importantly, I couldn't wait to blog and write, but I just didn't have that skill.
The ability to effectively and concisely communicate a big idea is a skill that not enough people have.
Correct, and not every format is conducive to that. To your point, like people can convey an incredible moment of escapism in 10 seconds. You can have a really fun joke or really cool, or a trick or, and that's beautiful. That's like, that maps a lot of things that happen. It was what was cool about real life. Like somebody would have a joke in the lunchroom in 6th grade, and that was an incredibly well executed 7 seconds. We're seeing the creation format of that out in the public because there was no formats for that. Right? Like even Tracy Ullman would have those little breaks called the Simpson cartoons, which, which, they were short skits and it became something iconic. So I think to your point, I think there's a lot of ways to provide value in very short skits and short moments, but it is not profound philosophical ideas that clearly take time to think through. And
although people think I think at the audience side, you think it's easy because it's short or
correct.
It's hard.
Correct. As a matter of fact, much to what I was talking about with day trading attention, especially for the people that are listening that are in professional marketing, not creators or whatever, they disrespect not only because it's short, they disrespect production value. I would argue that all of Fortune 500 marketing is losing right now because they put production value on a pedestal. So they feel that a video made by an iPhone that is mundane, that doesn't have the lighting and is not good. Meanwhile, the audience has spoken with their actions. Humans like it. Just like Hollywood didn't think reality TV was good. And then the market spoke
Yeah.
And now it's a very meaningful genre that used to not exist. I think a lot of the things I think about when I think about attention, or even the concept of the kids' book, like finding the middle.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with people's inability to understand that their subjective opinions are borderline audacious and often delusional, meaning most people walk around making decisions based on a focus group of one. I sit in unlimited boardrooms constantly where they're like, well, I don't like that. I'm like, well, good news, we're not selling to you.
Yeah.
You're selling to 19-year-olds, you're a 67-year-old, you're selling to women, you're a male, we're selling to people who need this, you don't need this. Why would your subjective opinion of one be a good marketing strategy and a good distribution strategy and a good media strategy and good creative strategy? Now, if you're a remarkable marketer or decision maker, you become an empty vessel and you try to take, I believe one of the things that has worked for me is I don't think my opinion counts. I think I have to make subjective opinions all the time, but I never believe I'm right. I believe that I'm forced into it at times. I have to decide what wines I'm gonna put on my wine show.
Yeah.
I have to decide what I'm gonna write about, but I don't think it's right. And I think a lot of people really do live in a borderline delusional, audacious state and make a lot of bad business, marketing, and life decisions within that framework.